We welcome Jasmine Shah, who is the vice chair of the Delhi Dialogue Commission. The Delhi Dialogue Commission is the policy cell of the Delhi government, and so Jasmine Shah has overlooked all the major policy designs coming from DDC right from the beginning. And without further ado, welcome Jasmine Shah. Please tell us more on the electric vehicle policy and also the Delhi Dialogue Commission.
Hi, thank you, and it's my pleasure to be here once again on Aapka Radio. DDC, for all of you who are not aware about it, was set up in the first term of the AAP government, first full term of the AAP government, which was in 2015. And the idea behind setting it up was essentially create a wide policy thinking capacity within the government. It was an acknowledgement of the fact that many of the challenges that we try and solve within the government, we may not have all the answers within the government. And it is necessary to therefore build an institution that can do wider consultations and in a way tap the expertise that lies outside the government. It could be from or the Aam Aadmi citizens, or it could be experts, academia, industry, all these kinds of groups. And the electric vehicle policy in that sense is a perfect example for what the work that institutions like DDC were set up to do. So very brief recap, the work on Delhi's electric vehicle policy started almost 2 years back. And in November of 2018, Delhi government put out the draft electric vehicle policy through the transport department. And, after that was when the DDC also got involved. And through DDC, we organized a national stakeholder consultations. And we had a very wide window for receiving public comments because we did realize that this is a very new area. Not much had happened anywhere in India. And even globally, if you leave aside China and a few Scandinavian countries, EVs have really not taken off that well anywhere in the world. So we thought we should, consult and involve everybody's opinion while framing Delhi's EV policy. We had a very wide-ranging industry consultation. A lot of people, including UN bodies, city-level organizations, NGOs, and academic experts like Professor Ashok Jhunjhunwala from IIT Madras. All of these people have looked at, reviewed, and given extensive comments on the policy, all of which were then incorporated in the final draft, which was cleared by the cabinet just before the elections in end of December 2019. And now last month, this policy was finally notified. And the twofold objectives of the policy were first and foremost to really push the demand for electric vehicles amongst the people of the city, to really make and address sort of all those factors that prevent people from buying electric vehicles, be it slightly higher purchase price, be it lack of charging infrastructure, be it just access to knowledge and information on what EVs really mean. So all of these aspects are very comprehensively addressed in Delhi's EV policy. The second objective was also to look at economy and create new jobs in Delhi, because transition to EVs is a big thing. I mean, for the automobile industry, and it will lead to many new jobs to be created, be it battery technology, be it maintaining, servicing, charging infrastructure, manning, all these kinds of jobs will be created, and we wanted Delhi to be at the forefront of it. But the primary goal was to initiate a rapid transition to EVs in the national capital and thereby address the pollution problem, which all of us know Aam Aadmi Party has been one of the top of our agenda. And over the last 5 years, we've reached somewhere. I mean, at an aggregate level, there's been 25% reduction, but still it's not safe by any standards, Delhi's air, or for that matter, air of most cities in India. And the EV policy is essentially trying to address the fraction of the pollution that is caused by vehicles, which is roughly around 30%. So that's the goal, and we are very glad that the reception from the industry, from experts, and from all the stakeholders, including the government of India, where union ministers have gone on record to say that this is a model policy and something that all other cities and states should adopt. So I'll stop it for now. And is there anything else you'd like me to address?
I think, yeah, I mean, like you've given a pretty comprehensive overview, but if you could just introduce our guests a little bit on what this EV policy is and what are the key areas where subsidies are being targeted at. And with that overview,
Right.
we can move over to Gopalji.
So when we were looking at the EV policy, again, we were driven by what the end goal is. The end goal is to reduce vehicle pollution. So we looked at which vehicle categories were causing the maximum pollution. And in India, it is actually not the cars. It is primarily two-wheelers and three-wheelers, which constitute nearly 70% of the entire pollution, vehicular pollution. So our EV policy is targeting primarily two-wheelers and three-wheelers, as well as all the public transport. Of course, there is a large plan to move to electric buses in Delhi, but also the goods carriers, the freight vehicles, because these are the ones that are plying continuously throughout the day. As far as subsidies go, I mean, we have very generously given subsidies to these focused target segments. So we're giving up to 30,000 rupees of a purchase subsidy for two-wheelers as well as three-wheelers. For the first time in India, we've also introduced a scrapping incentive. So you can actually bring your old used petrol two-wheeler and drive away with the electric two-wheeler, and you'll get an additional 10,000 rupee bonus. So that is being taken care of. For cars also, there is a subsidy of up to 1.5 lakh rupees. And as I said, for freight segments, there are extensive subsidies. Besides that, there is also complete exemption of road tax and registration fees, which also add up a significant cost component. So our objective is that with these slew of subsidies, we are also targeting the higher performance vehicles. So idea is not that you give subsidies and low quality vehicles come on the street, which has happened with some other policies. So we're very hopeful that the targeting of this policy should be right. And along with that, there's a huge focus on charging infrastructure, and there's a plan that within every 3-kilometer radius of Delhi, you have a public charging station. And we're also promoting private charging, in group housing societies and stuff. We are, as part of this policy, we'll also be changing municipal bylaws so that any new construction in Delhi will mandatorily need to put EV charging points in its parking lot. So there are many other things. I encourage all of you to read the policy, and if you have comments, suggestions for anything else that we can do. I mean, the policy is for 3 years, but if we get good suggestions, we will also amend the policy from time to time, even during these 3 years.
Yeah, that was a very comprehensive introduction, Jasmine. And I guess, I mean, with this, all of us have a good understanding on what this policy is based on. So for more detailed examination of it, let's bring Gopalji over here, who has been the architect of the policy itself. Gopalji.
Jasmine is the main person behind this. I am being technical, give a bit of my experience of electric vehicles in that. But majorly the overhauling and everything, Jasmine consulted this with IIT Chennai people, WRI group, and a lot of people who are in manufacturing, lot of people who are in startup, everywhere. Jasmine personally even involved in the process of consulting and public opinions, everything. Most of the things has been done by Jasmine only in this. So I am just in the final stages of the policy. I was involved in a few technical aspects and a few things which are government related and that's only I was involved in this policy. So the all credit goes to Jasmine only for this. So if anybody wants even to ask anything, so I think Jasmine is here with us for another 2 3 minutes because Jasmine is too much involved in other things also. So will not take much of his time. So if anyone want to ask any things, most of the people ask any same question to we can ask Jasmine to answer. Rest I'll answer.
I have one
Rest of the
question.
time.
This is Akhil from California. My question is how feasible, technically feasible it is to use solar energy in the charging station. Hello.
Gopal, would you like to address that?
Yes, I will. Actually,
I'll actually, unfortunately,
the thing
I have to leave. So, Gopal, I'll request you to take it forward. It was pleasure
Sure.
talking to all of you.
Sure.
And Gopal likes
Thanks
to
a
be
lot,
humble, but
Jasmine,
he's
for-
also involved, intimately involved in, and he's really aware of all aspects of the policy.
Yeah. Thank you
you
so
very
much for joining us, Jasmine.
So your question is because the solar things are we all know that we need lot of space, and all electric vehicles require lot of energy. So if we have 100 square meter of area, which is enough for parking for 3 or 4 cars. If we try to put that much solar plant, so we have to invest around 4-5 lakhs in that, and that can charge only one electric vehicle in 7 or 8 hours. So right now it is not a a good thing to connect solar with this EV, because the solar in any case Delhi government is trying to put everything on grid, because we have lot of limitations in solar that we don't have energy in the night, in the evening. So it's not preferable to use dedicated solar energy to recharge your cars. But somewhere in the suburbs where you don't have the grid, where don't you have transmission line, and you have enough space, so there you can use solar panels. You can put lot of solar panels for charging 1 car or 2 car, but that doesn't make any good sense as of now, because the cost of investment is so high, and the returns are very low, and it's it will take around 15 or 20 years to take returns of from this.
Right. And like we saw that, the policy is quite ambitious. It targets 50% of new buses to be electric and 25% of new vehicles to be electric. And that would significantly increase the power demand in the city. And Delhi does not produce so much
Yes.
power within its limits. It purchases powers with
Yes.
agreements with other states.
Yes.
How do you think the
Yes,
power
yes.
demand would increase, and how will we compensate for the extra purchasing that we need to do?
The thing is, the power demand is not an issue for Delhi, because we have enough PPAs with these production companies who are producing power, and the selling cost of this EV power is around 4.5 rupees, right? So our PPAs are very much under this price. So
Okay.
electricity is not an issue for this. But the thing is, if we want to sell power on the same to the household, because we are giving first 200 units free of cost, and
Exactly.
up to 400 units we are giving 50% subsidy, and after that also we are taking 2 rupees only per kilowatt per unit. So
Yeah.
if we want to buy more power for residents, then it can be issue, because we'll not get the power in the cost of 2 rupees or 2.5 rupees.
Exactly.
But in 4 rupees or 4.5 rupees, the enough power is available. We can buy any amount of power in that cost. And and people are coming with new plants. Like we have deserts in many of states, like Rajasthan or at many places. There, people are putting solar plants because that land is nothing. They can't produce farming or agriculture or anything. So we have enough space. According around free of cost, we have space there, and that space is like useless. So people are putting big power plants, solar plants, and many other places also they are doing. So I don't see any problem of power, but still we are working parallelly on this. We should not face this kind of issue. So parallelly we are
Yeah.
taking this also.
Okay, this is
Yeah.
Arun from Boston. I had a question.
Yeah. Just 1 second. We had another guest from Japan who wanted to ask a question. Marcus, would you like to ask your question?
Yeah, actually, in this last week or 15 days before, in Japan, they had some experiments for flying cars. Now they are going to have flying cars in Japan, and I think when we are making such policies, again the world is going to change very soon. So it should be accommodating this new things which will be coming later on to India.
Whatever policy we make now, we see the market first, right? What is available in the
Okay.
market? Then only we can create some policy or anything, right? So we don't see anything of like this. And before like creating policy, like कागज पे सिर्फ policy लाके pass कर देना is nothing. But the implementation of policy is the most important part. Flying taxis is just like a dream for our country right now, because even we don't have permission to drive drones in India, right? We have lot of licensing procedures. So I don't see in next 2-3 years that government is going to give permission to these taxis, right? But if still you have some very good company who are ready to come and invest in India, what are the prospects of this? How much kilometer can a flying taxi can run? What type of space it is required? What cost it will take? If all these aspects are clear and they want to start their business in India, because it is not very common in Japan or Korea or in Europe or in USA till. So you can very well understand if somebody is ready to invest in India for this, we will help him or help them in getting all the licenses from Government of India, from DGHS, for what this authority, Airport Authority of India. And if they're ready, definitely we can incorporate their things in our policy. It's not a big challenge because Delhi government is very open government. They don't take much time. We can incorporate these things in a 15 to 30 days time. We are very open for new ideas. We are very open for good ideas. We are very open for anything which take our country forward, which take our Delhi forward.
So we had a question coming from Arun Bhai. So
Yeah, I'm here. My question is, you have put this plan together, after thinking of many things and looking at many metrics and all that. But are you going to monitor actively and change course if need be?
Pardon?
So are you going to see, if let's say you have one thing, you're giving a subsidy of 30,000 or 1 lakh, are you going to monitor how this is performing? Are people taking it, or are you going to check if they're not taking it, why they're not taking it? Are you going to, are you going to shoot and forget, or are you going to go back and track the metrics around this policy and see what's working, what's not working, what has to change?
Yes, of course. Regular monitoring is very important for anything. So we have hired a few of the consultants who have done very good job in this kind of field. So very soon we are coming with a RSP for the analytics or analysis or the expertise for a PMU, and that will be either KPMG or EY or PwC or Deloitte or such a experienced players who has done some good job in this area. So they will regularly monitor all the aspects they will regularly monitor where we are lacking and where we have to improve. And on monthly basis, will Jasmine and me will take a review for this. And wherever we feel, we'll definitely make changes in our policy. And if required, we'll improve our policy, or if we want to delete some aspects, or if we want to add some aspects, whatever modification uh, we are required, we'll do. And as you said, ki, doing this and chhod dena is not a good idea for anything, not only this, for anything. So definitely we'll take follow-ups and everything so that we can see the results of this policy.
Yes,
I have a very quick question for Gopal
yes,
Bhai.
yes, Ashriya,
Uh,
please.
Gopal Bhai, there's this fantastic device called ShycoCan, which can actually break the COVID chain. Can Delhi government use this device? Because apparently Eureka Forbes is putting it out in the market.
I know that equipment. One of my friend only discovered this moment. The name is Dr. Vijay. I've been to him 3 4 times. He has a research center in this Bangalore. Okay,
Okay.
so he's a Bangalore-based scientist, and he got his approval done from FDA also, and already Eureka for starting commercial manufacturing of that product. But the thing is, that product is like for rooms, for hospitals, and there are many aspects like uh, that can save only the transmission if you are sitting in the same room, right? The
Right.
COVID will not transfer through because what it do, it like vaporize, or I'm not getting the exact word,
So
but
basically,
it the
it will what it can do is actually people can go back to work without any fear, because if offices have the device, then no infectivity can transmit, and this will
see, see,
allow
this
everybody to
is
go
not
back to
only the
work.
area. I know, but this is not only the area where people are getting infected. Okay, because uh, if everybody start going to his office or their office, so the metros will get packed again. They will start packed again, and
Yeah.
it's not possible that we can put this device everywhere because the production quantities, even abhi, they're not they don't have the license to sell it in India. Still, Indian government
They
has not
do. They're
recognized that
already selling it in
thing.
India. I got one product from
No, 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 no.
Eureka Forbes, and it's
Yes,
I kindly request all participants to keep the discussion towards the electric vehicles and the ongoing topic. We can
we'll
continue
discuss this
on other
separately. Okay, we'll
Yeah,
discuss this
yeah.
separately.
Can I
Thank
ask
you
a
so much.
question? This is Ashok from Goa.
Yes, Ashok, please go ahead.
Yeah. So I'll stick with the vehicle. So the vehicle policy is very good, but I have two concerns on how you dealt with it. One concern is this is a loss for government. Government is not losing money. Second, it's a new concept, so people will have some kind of fear, inertia of not moving towards it. They would prefer to continue. So how did you deal with these two concerns?
Basically, this is kind of for anything like when the industrialization started in like our country, or some states want to increase their like manufacturing sector, so they gave many incentives, like whosoever wants to come and start their business in there are places Mandi, Faridabad, Gurgaon, everywhere government has to give incentives. Like Bangalore also, they give lot of incentives. Those who want to come and build their infrastructure, those who want to start their IT business. So a lot of things like this happened. Every government gave freebies so that these people will start their work and start celebrating like the cylinders. When we started coming from chula to cylinder stove, right, or kerosene stove to this LPG. So government paid lot of subsidies to their chulha, this LPG chulha, LPG cylinders, because they want people to come on this LPG from the stove or from this chula where we burn wood directly, lot of pollution and lot of other things also, like people are suffering from other diseases. So governments are always like took initiative like this, because this is only the duty of government. And another thing, from where we will bring the funds for this. So we already have like a environment cess on many things. Like Supreme Court imposed this green cess on all the trucks which are coming in Delhi, right? So that these are we have corpus of that fund and we have enough money in that. So whatever we are doing in this EV policy, we are getting funds from that. And because that funds we can use only for the environment purposes, only for the things which are like help in reducing pollution. So this is the future of like any country, the EVs. So we gave a thought that this is very important, very necessary. So this is the way how we are doing this.
This is Anurag from Seattle. I have a question.
Yes, Anurag, please.
Hi. So I have a couple of specific points and questions on that. The charging facility that will be provided. So what happened is, like in US, they started like a different couple of different versions of charger, and then in Europe there was different CCS charger. So I hope in India they are like using a more standard system that they will be used for charger. Like the CCS charger is getting more standard. The follow-up question I have is, like in India, there are a lot of e-rickshaws that have come upon, and I'm just thinking that if we start putting these kind of these electric chargers, I hope these e-rickshaws or these possibly the smaller cars that will come in, or the poorer people who will have smaller devices, maybe electric motorbike, they will also get an opportunity to charge at these stations, and thus poor people are not cut off from the process. So that's what I wanted to. I don't know if you're thinking about it or if you're pointing, or if you have any comments on that.
Right. See, the charging infrastructure which we have started creating, or which we will create, this is market driven, right? Like as you mentioned, that 90% of the electric vehicles which we have in Delhi right now are three-wheel rickshaws, which we call e-rickshaws, right? But because these rickshaws will created their space by themselves, like government has not provided any charging space, any subsidy, or any kind of help for these e-rickshaws, but still they exist, and still they are the most popular segment of EV in our country everywhere now, right? So these chargers are like people are using the chargers in their home, right? And they're using their house, like whatever pin plugs for the charging of their e-rickshaws, because they are using very old technology. They are using lead acid batteries in their these rickshaws, and these chargers are not fast chargers. Only a few rickshaws which equipped with this fast charging process have this kind of chargers. But definitely, what chargers government is started creating. So we are keeping all things in our mind, and a few people, like always, the market driven things are always better than what government do. So our policy is market driven policy. So we gave lot of incentives for open public who want to come with the charger facility, who want to create chargers, or there are many startups who are in this business of creating chargers, and they know what is the market demand and how can they provide the things which market actually requires. So we are giving lot of incentives on that also, subsidy on that also. So we had a proper plan how we will resolve this e-rickshaw and this e-bike and e-scooter policy. So we have kept a proper eye on that also, and hope we will resolve this issue from the coming this policy. And still, if it require, we will definitely include more things in our policy, which can like provide these facilities to all these e-rickshaw walas, e-bike walas, and all. So this is our.
Yeah, thank you so
I have
much.
a question. This is Sebastian.
Yes, Sebastian, please go ahead.
Gopalji, we had met, I think, a couple of years ago with Arvindji, and he had mentioned that you were the brainchild of this doorstep delivery. So I'm so glad that I'm able to talk to you again. For me, it's very. I remember you mentioned you are from IIT Delhi. So my first question is, the great thing about AAP is that we're able to bring, people like you, experts, into the policy making space. So what is the mechanism for other experts? Let's say, they may be environmental experts, they may be EV experts, etc., to formally support the governments of Delhi's policy making and even AAP's policies on various aspects. That's my first question. And more specific question is, what are we doing in Delhi regarding recycling, especially because once we get into EV, then it's a whole question of recycling. All the EV becomes a critical factor. And second thing is about people producing electricity through from their rooftops. Is there a facility whereby we are able to sell electricity and just like you can buy electricity? Thank you.
Excellent question, Sebastian.
So, the first question is how can we bring experts in AAP and in the government? So we have if you have any suggestion, just give us a suggestion. Definitely, AAP is very open for every kind of suggestion, and anybody who want to work as an expert, so you can come to DDC as an expert, and if you want to join us full time for something, that is an area where we have to see, because we have very limited posts like this on permanent basis, not on permanent, even contractual basis. Like my job is also on the contract basis. So the tenure of this contract can be 1 year, can be 2 years, 3 year, 4 year, 5 year. So it is on requirement basis. So the thing is, we can hire people through market also. We are doing for this EV policy, we are coming with an RFP for the consultants who are good at this EV thing, and that open market will bid that RFP, and we will choose the best people from market. So anybody can come in that area. Or your second question is the recycling of batteries and all. So right now our country don't have the facility to recycle our lithium-ion batteries, but our country is ready to dispose these batteries, because the e-waste is one of the biggest issue in the coming days, and it's already one of the major issues for pollution. So already there are many companies like Nokia, and there are 2-3 more companies which is in our touch from Environment Department to dispose e-waste. So they are in agreement to take all these batteries, and they will dispose these batteries in the best manner, so that we should not face anything what if we burn directly to this e-waste, or if we try to put anywhere in Yamuna or anywhere. So we are having a proper standards or everything for that also. European standards we are following for that. And the third question, sorry, I forgot the third question. Please.
A sale of electricity from houses back to the grid.
Rooftop energy.
This is already there, and many people are using this facility. Many societies already installed solar panels on their roofs, and whatever energy they are producing, that is going in grid, and the meters they are getting the subsidies for the amount which they are producing. Also, we are giving subsidy in the investment of this solar rooftop, and even we have a policy where we are putting everything on their roofs, and we are not charging any amount from them, and whatever electricity will be come out of that grid, we will give subsidy that a few subsidy to that society, and few amount we will give it to the person who will install this, because government is doing on a big scale, so we are getting better rates, and those who don't want to go in this field and who are saying they don't have the expertise for this, so we are our people, we have empaneled players, so they can opt any player that come and install on our rooftop, and this is on the RESCO model. Instead of going it on the investment model, RESCO model is the best model throughout the world which people are using, because in RESCO model, in layman don't know how to maintain this solar system. So the person who is investing is the expert of this field. So he'll try to make maximum output of that plant, because his investment and his profit is directly proportional to the whatever energy that plant will create. So we are safe with our things, whatever production is there, then only we are paying that cost to that person. So it is a win-win game for government and the citizens who are installing this plant. Also, we do have one scheme, Mukhyamantri Kisan Aay Badhotri Yojana, right? Yeah. So that scheme is also for solar, and it is a very good scheme, and farmers can earn around 2 lakh rupees per acre of without giving their full land to government. So they can do farming as well, and they can produce electricity as well. They will get 50 units free of cost per acre. Also, they get around 1.8 lakhs per year from that. This is a big earning for any farmer, which they are not getting from farming even.
I'm sorry, I was just wanted to make a point. I see so many advertisements by Delhi government, but I see far fewer advertisements on these solar policies, which are really impressive to me, at least.
Exactly. And what's the kind of uptake that we are seeing? I mean, are the farmers picking this up? Are the residential localities picking this up? We don't see advertisements so much.
Yes, yes. See, a lot of advertisement has been done on this. But the thing is, I don't know, because I so regularly see most of the ads in every after every interval, because most of the ads are related to the if you see nowadays, you are getting the most of the ads on COVID and dengue, right? We just started the dengue campaign from last week, right? So as per if Gandhi Jayanti is there, the ad will belongs to Gandhi Jayanti. If COVID is there, ad belongs to them. So there are a cycle of giving ads. So I don't we are directly in the contact of these farmers. There are very less number of farmers in Delhi, right? So if we go for the ad continuously in the paper, so I don't see that ad will impact to only we have a number guess we have 20,000 families of farmers, so that will impact only these 20,000 families. So what we have done, we have contacted all these farmers who has their we have records of their land taken, and we have explained these policies to them, because it's not easy to understand this policy from newspaper only, right? So we contacted them, we briefed them, and a lot of things we have tried to be in directly touch with them. We have explained this to our block development officer, to our SDMs, to our Tehsildar, to our DMs, to encourage people to involve in this enroll in this scheme, and all housing societies which are there in our record, they're already contacted all the societies. We are pushing them to their management. It is like the targeting ad system. There are two kind of ad system. One is for the open public, and another is to the beneficiaries, or to the the maximum, like if somebody don't have society, so where will he put? It's not a feasible idea to put on a 25 square yard house. It is not a feasible thing if you try to install that solar plant there. So we are trying to do targeting ad to our consumers, where we can do this.
Often, one question that often comes up regarding this whole subsidy business is that I read in the policy that you're giving 1.5 lakh subsidy to those who are procuring EV four-wheelers. And people often associate subsidies with benefits for the poor and marginalized. Over here, 1.5 lakh subsidy is going to the richest households. How do you justify this? How is this beneficial to the common man? Or
so there are two things. This is not for the richest of the richest, because nowadays you can buy a good car in 8-9 lakh rupees, an electric car, right? And the middle class people also, you can if you go through this segment, they're going for Creta and this segment, right? So they're buying 11-12 lakh rupees car. So it is not like only richest people are getting this subsidy. Richest people don't want 1.5 lakh subsidy. If they want to buy, they can buy. If they can spend, we have Kona, right? 26 lakh rupees car, electric car. So who is spending 26 lakh rupees? He will also spend 24.5 lakh rupees subsidy. And our scheme says only 1,500 or 1,000 cars. Right, and even we are planning to give these cars only in the commercial area, right? Because if you buy a car, right, so how much you can use your car? Maximum 40 kilometers, 50 kilometers, 80 kilometers, 100 kilometers. But if some taxi driver
90% of the time it's parked.
Yes. If a taxi driver will buy this car, he'll drove this car to 180 kilometers, 200 kilometers, 220 kilometers per day.
Correct.
Okay, in two shifts, maybe two drivers will run the same car, right?
Correct.
So they can take the maximum output of the car, and he's not the richest of the richest. He's like a very basic person, right?
That's correct.
And
That's correct.
He'll try to make some money, and that will again come to the market and rotate. Okay,
Exactly.
and when people get employment. Right. So many of the aspects like this will on this. And the other thing is, it is not 1.5 lakhs to everyone. It is battery based. Even in two-wheelers also, it is not like we are giving 30,000 for every two-wheeler. Most of the two-wheelers are having 3 kilowatt battery or a 2 kilowatt battery. So we are giving 5,000 per kilowatt in two-wheeler and 10,000 per kilowatt in four-wheeler. So maximum subsidy which we will give in two-wheelers, most of the two-wheelers are having maximum 3 kilowatt battery. Only a few are having more than 3 kilowatt battery. So maximum it is 15,000. It is not more than 15,000. And in the car, it is like 10 kilowatt hour. Okay, so 10 kilowatt hour is maximum 1 lakh rupees, right? And everybody will not buy a car, because people see a lot of things in buying a car. Because in India, buying a car is not only the it is like people keep the car as their family member, right? So this thing, a lot of things so this is the point. But it is not as only rich people will buy this. So all middle class also and everyone buy this. So I don't see much of the what you say, it's a dispute, but let it be.
Yeah. Thank you.
Prashant, this is Adi here. Can I ask a question?
Yes, Adi, go ahead, please.
So is
Hmm.
all the vehicles, all the electric vehicles run on swappable battery model, or it's different for rickshaws and different for cars and different for buses?
It is like mixed. We have many models of swappable type and many of fixed type and many of both kind of like operations are possible. So we are giving subsidies to all kind of vehicle we have incorporated in our subsidy policy. So many firms are doing with swappable and many are doing with fixed and many are doing with mixed type of work.
Okay, so it just further question. So I believe the swappable battery model is more useful or universal. Any thought to change all the vehicles in swappable model, or just the way the manufacturer can do whatever they want?
Actually, we when we started our framing this policy, na, we have started with only for swappable batteries, right? But
Yeah.
many manufacturers and many people who are in this business, they told us to include all because like every manufacturer has their own kind of like customer base, right? So it is
Right.
not always like there are many auto walas who drop their autos maximum 100 kilometers or 120 kilometers per day, right? So there are manufacturers who don't want to like create this swappable thing. So they said ki, matlab, we are doing our business as per the demand of market. So we have both the models, right? So like we want you to like provide subsidy on both, and we also like have a survey in our this Delhi that how much people are required this kind of thing, how many. So we found that matlab, it's just a start, right? So matlab, this is actual testing of this type of vehicles because right now though we don't have that much electric vehicles in Delhi. So it's just kind of pilot. So let's see how market take these things forward, and later on we'll change the policy, whatever we feel the best way to drive this will definitely change.
Hi Gopalji, this is Sachin from Oslo. I have a question. Does this electric vehicle policy also includes state provide public e-scooter? Can I expect that these e-scooters can be installed soon in street of Delhi?
On lower
I-
scale.
I'll try to repeat the question. Sachin is asking about e-scooters that you have all over Europe. I mean, do you have these rental stands in many places in Europe where you can pick up an e-scooter, drive, and drop it off into some other stand, and it charges there?
I know.
So yeah. Is
I
something
know.
like this in plan?
And my question is
See,
that is it within the government policy of electric vehicle that it can be a public provide, I mean government provided e-scooter for public consumption? For example,
no. See,
in Oslo, government is planning that on your monthly travel card, you can use this electric vehicle for your short visit, like 5 to 10 kilometers, 20 kilometers.
so
So
government is like matlab not in India basically in India, government like अपना काम तो ठीक से कर नहीं पाते. Whatever job they have to done, they're not doing their job, right? So if will say you run some scooter agency or some kind of this, so it's not possible for government, but government can create good policies so that the good players can come in this market and do this business. So in India, mostly you will see in Europe, even I've been to Europe and experienced this scooter thing. And I met with a few of the operators also who are running this thing. So in India, you will find a very few people who can use these scooters because that are like two-wheel scooters and very small scooters. So in India, they are not that popular, which is very popular in USA or Europe. But in India, you can see Yulu everywhere, right? It's a small cycle kind of thing. Or like in Delhi, in NDMC, we have just started a e-scooter, proper scooter. It can run with on the speed of 50, 60 kilometers even. So model, and you can download an app in your phone, and you can like pay the money online, and you can like take that scooter on rent, and you can drive it, and the costs are also very nominal. In NDMC, it is like 50 paisa per minute, or after 15 minutes, the cost will be like increased by another 25%. So the Ola and Vogo is one of the startup two-wheeler startup from Bangalore. So they have won the tender for this for Delhi. So they're coming with 1,000 scooters, right? So what we are giving them, we are giving them the place to park their scooters. We are providing them the electricity lines till their point. They will take their own charging stations there, and we are providing them the subsidy on buying these two-wheelers, right? As we are providing this to anyone else, and we are providing them parking slots wherever we have parking. They can use 20% of the parking on the nominal rate, and that's it. So metros had already like started their the same operations with Yulu on around 50, 60 of the metro stations already, and soon they will start coming to other stations also. But the scooters, the definition scooter is different here and Europe, because that scooters are like a bit different. So these scooters are not even we have as of now, not like Delhi or anywhere.
Right. Yeah, and one more small follow-up question, which is outside electric vehicle policy. I really want to ask this. I just wanted to know what is a mandate of a technical advisor to a CM. I mean, what is your mandate in your job profile? Are you allowed to take decisions around innovations, new innovations?
Yes, yes. See, I can propose anything to government, and like I'll just have to see all the aspects that whether that thing really help our Delhi, and whether it is cost effective, whether it is worth of doing, and if it is actually required. Uh, Definitely, I'll propose this to Honorable CM, and our Honorable CM like is one of the best person. So he's also being IITian. He understands technology very well, and he don't take more than 5 to 10 minutes to understand anything. And if he is like convinced, yes, that should be there. And if it is in the powers of Delhi government, as we all know, that Delhi is the multiplicity of agency. We have around 22 agencies in Delhi which work independently. So we have DDA, we have MCD, we have a lot of other governments also. So if it is very much in the powers of Delhi government, we'll try to start it or finish it as early as possible. And if there is the participation of other governments required, like other than Delhi government, so we'll try to initiate or we'll try to request them. But mostly in those cases, things don't like go in the smooth manner or like other things. But like we try our best. So this is the answer for your question.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
This is Liju
Yes.
from Qatar. Can I ask you? Thanks for all the explanations, and it was very exciting. My question is, what is now the policies being made? What is the forecast what we are making on especially on all the segments of vehicles, on scooters, on the cars, and all the other industrial four-wheelers and all? How we are forecasting? Can we know that?
So the forecast is like we all know that people don't do experiments, right? People are very much in India. We are like very much scared of doing experiments, and we don't want to initiate something. And our habits are like bhed chal, we can say. Okay, so when like anything which comes new in market, people don't like start uh, like changing their existing earlier things, or they try to keep on this use on same thing until unless they are like getting benefits of like extraordinary benefits. Like uh, if we say that electric vehicles are coming from last 7 or 8 years in market, right? But if we see the number of people who are buying these electric vehicles are very less. So there are many reasons for this. One is few people are saying they are not durable. Few people are saying they are not like having that much of strength. Few people are saying they don't have that much of pickup. Few people are saying they don't have that much of kilometer mileage, and there are different reasons for everything. And few people are saying they're very costly as of now, right? But as the number of vehicles are increasing throughout the world, the battery technology is like revolutionary changing. We are seeing the cost of lithium ion, lithium polymer battery is like around half, which was there 10 years back, and it is very powerful now, and it is like the number of cycles also increase, and we can see the chargers are also very good chargers available, which can charge a vehicle 80% of the charging they can do in 30 minutes, or there are vehicles fully charged in 3.5 hours. So every kind of facilities now are easily available. And now these companies are like coming with the models which are giving 5 years guarantee of battery also. Earlier it was of 1 year only because they're using lead acid batteries. And a lot of other things happened in last few years. So what is the mandate of government? To bring this vehicle in the like market, so that people will start using this vehicle, and the other people can see and ask these owners that if you know someone, and if you take review from him, like you've bought electric scooter, so what is your opinion about this? I'm planning to buy this. So if he says, no, yeah, it's very good, and I'm saving a lot of money on this, and blah, 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 blah. And if seller is saying all this, you will say, कि यार इसको तो sell करना है, तो he will to say कि my scooter is very good. So we want to create public opinion on this. So in starting, so we have to give some kind of help or support to this industry or to these people who want to like actually buy this, and because of money issue only they are not able to buy, or finally they are saying like we are investing 20,000 or 30,000 extra what we have to spend on this petrol two-wheeler, right? So many people will start buying these scooters due to the government push or whatever amount we are pushing. But once a quantity is there in the market, like, and the technology evolves, so I think people will start buying themselves without subsidy, and their like opinions also change about electric vehicle. And now really the electric vehicles are durable, and they're equally good than your petrol vehicle and diesel vehicle. So I think this push is very much required at this time. And the best thing is Government of India also pushing this a lot, and they are also giving subsidies, and like the cost of a good electric two-wheeler is around 90,000 to 1 lakh rupees. It starts from 75,000 to 1,25,000. So most of the models, if you say 3 kilowatt battery models, so central government also giving 15,000 rupees, Delhi government is also giving 15,000 rupees. So the cost of vehicle is around 50,000 to 80,000 rupees. So electric, if you say the petrol vehicle, that also come in the range of 50,000 to 80,000 rupees. So people will go and buy these vehicles, and definitely I'll hope that 25% of our two-wheelers will shift on this in next few years, and because they are the major reason of pollution in Delhi. So if this much we can achieve, so I think definitely this will change our country in next few years. This is our focus.
Yeah, this is Vikas. Gopal,
Yes,
regarding
Vikas.
regarding the charging, so public charging will be optional or private charging is also there?
Both the options are there in our policy.
Okay. And second one, regarding the e-waste, what is the policy around that?
This was already
I have already
answered.
explained that we have agreement with all these manufacturers. They have arranged the scrapping, official allowed scrapping only, which they have to fulfill all the norms of European standard, and they have to scrap all the vehicles or the batteries, whatever. Whenever any person will go and change the battery, he has to give it to only the authorized scrap dealer, so that this e-waste can be used in well prescribed manner only.
This is Arun. I had a question.
Yes, Arun, go ahead.
What is the target in terms of CO2 emissions? Is it huge in 3 years? Is it going to be a huge impact?
See, huge
Given
impact,
coal-based
we
power.
can't say, because this thing is very difficult to say, CO2 emissions, because the thing is, if let's see how much we can achieve. The forecast is, so what I'm saying, it is, you can say, whatever pollution these doing, right? So we can say, if we see how much pollution a electric vehicle is doing, so we can minus that kind of carbon emissions out of this, petrol minus this electric vehicle, including whatever the pollution is there at the time of scrapping of battery, or charging of battery, and whatever electricity we are creating from coal or from anything, because in Delhi we don't have any coal power station now. All we have doing from CNG only or from solar only, and most of the electricity we are buying from outside. So we can say, because it's not possible for us to calculate, because we are buying the green energy also, the wind energy also, the solar also, and what you say, atomic also. So the atomic, coal, hydral, all are mixed. So it's very hard to say about this electricity pollution. But remaining, at least will save 60% of the pollution of these 25% vehicles.
Like in many Scandinavian countries, we see that there is a carbon tax that is put on low mileage vehicles. So is there a plan like this? ये 2000 सीसी के ऊपर वाली गाड़ियों पे मतलब कोई एक्स्ट्रा टैक्स लगेगा? माइलेज कम देती है इसीलिए?
It is already there. It is already there in India.
I have one feedback. Actually, today I spoke to one of my friend, and I have shared one post in one of our friends group in Norway, that if anyone is having any question around a electrical vehicle policy, then do let me know, because we are going to have a guest, Gopalji. But many of them have come as a surprise that, oh, do you have electric vehicle policy in Delhi? So that's a surprise for them, and I think the main reason is that this policy was declared during pandemic time. There may be less advertisement around
Yeah,
it.
the news got buried around other main headlines.
Yes. So I think
No,
there
not
should
like
be
this.
some attention for the spreading the news around this brilliant policy, and people should avail it.
No. Actually, this policy is a very popular policy in our country. if you just go through Google and write EV policy Delhi, right, you'll get so many of the articles, so many of the ads and everything. But the thing is, we announced this policy just before the elections, like 2 months before or 3 months before the election. But announcing the policy and implementation of the policy are two different aspects. So we have announced that policy 3-4 months before the election, and what we have announced just in pandemic, it's the notification of our policy, and notification is a basic requirement of any government thing to announce. And soon in the next week, we will start implementation of this policy, and we have doing the seamless implementation of this policy, so that no person should reach to 10 people or to 10 windows to getting their subsidies. Otherwise, people stop doing this, buying these vehicles, because they say the government is giving subsidy, but the process of subsidy is so bad that we have to touch 10 counters for this. So we have a seamless process. So we have done hired a good agency for this, who will do all this work for us, and the people should not need to go anywhere. They just go and buy the vehicle from the showroom, and in 7 days they will get the subsidies in their accounts.
Brilliant.
Both center and state subsidy will be availed in one single window, is it?
Yes, state subsidy you will get through the dealer only, from where you're buying, because they are giving subsidies to the dealers. So dealer will do all the formalities for the subsidy. And for Delhi government, you will get in your account, whosoever is buying. So he'll provide you documents, and from that document, you will get your subsidy in your account in a 1 week time. Central government subsidy, I don't know how much time they will take to reach to their dealers, but that dealer will try to give subsidy upfront to all their buyers.
Got it.
Because
and dealer will claim it later from the center.
Yes.
Gopal bhai, is there an easy way to avail all this information online?
Everything is available online.
So I think we have come towards the end.
Just answering the question on the link, it is basically the DDC's website, where Jasmine works. It's a DDC website which has a comprehensive set of a report on all the policies, including electric vehicle policy. So you can see that as a presentation. I'll be sharing a link on the group with you, and you can forward.
Yes.
So we are towards the end, and we have exceeded nearly 25 minutes from what we had decided. Thank you for the enthusiastic response, all of you. And thank you so much, Gopalji, and please extend our thanks to Jasmine as well. Hope you enjoyed talking to us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.